We are live. Well, good morning, everybody. Hi to hello. Hi to hello to all of you. Thank you all for joining me on our Friday noon lunch with Longhorn Lester. Even though I'm not eating lunch, I haven't had anything yet this morning, but I will, in fact, go inside after I'm done here and find something to eat. I'm excited because this afternoon, I think this afternoon, if all goes well, my mom and dad are going to drive up and visit the JL Ranch property for the first time. So I am so excited to show it off to mom and dad, which is really good timing because I'm not going to say it's cool because it's not cool. It's still very hot out here today. But I will say that our mornings and our afternoons are starting to cool off real nice. So usually I get over there to mow at around 6 or so in the evenings, and I mow till about 8:30 or 9. And I'll tell you what, right now that property is just gorgeous. Hello there, Facebook. Thank y'all for joining us. And then of course, YouTube's been here for a little while. YouTube, I don't really know exactly how both of these tech giants work, but when you start to go live, once you let YouTube know you're going to go live, they begin to send out notifications so that all of your people who get that notification are here waiting and they're ready. As a matter of fact, they can go ahead and enter the live even before I actually present myself. And there's a lot of comments, and a lot of people have already been asking questions and talking to each other, making friends, y'all. They're making friends over here, such pleasantries in what I call the green room. Because I'm sitting here just watching all these people talk. Now, Facebook's a little bit different. They don't actually announce that you're live until after you've already gone live. And then sometimes it's 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes later when you get those notifications. So, hey, it is what it is. I know at some point Facebook will figure everything out. And here's the thing. This is the craziest thing if you think about it. This is so true to life as well. This is the darndest thing, right? There are entities, companies, uh, in politics, in any aspect of life that are always going to try to be different from their competitor, right? And so, no matter what Google does, which Google is YouTube, then Meta, which is Facebook, has to do the opposite. They do not want to have the same model. They have to have a different model. And no matter what, even though one may be easier, the other one will not. No, we're not going to do that. It's kind of like you have your CVS and your Walgreens, and they're on opposite corner of the street, and they're competing for each other. You have your Costco and your Sam's Club, and they're always competing for each other. And Target and Walmart, and they're always competing with each other, and they don't want to follow the same model. So it's kind of like we're having an issue right now. And I say we have an issue. We're not having an issue. There is this beautiful, oh my God, it's a gorgeous store. It's called Atwood's, right there in Lufkin, up the road here it's about a 30-minute drive. Everyone knows that I drive slower than the speed limit. I could be there faster, but about a 30-minute drive, a very pleasant drive, right up the interstate. No issues getting there whatsoever. You exit the highway, you pull over into the Atwoods parking lot, and the presentation of this store is just immaculate. It's more like a large shopping center. You have all of these things parked outside, all lined up real neat. Their lawnmowers, their tractors, all of their fencing materials. And man, you get this grand entrance and you're like, wow, this is going to be nice. You walk inside that store, very pleasant, always super clean. Man, that place is, it's just spick and span. Y'all know the expression? Spick and span clean. You can go by and shop. Your feed prices are very reasonable. As a matter of fact, they have a lot more than just feeds. It's like I said, it is a Tractor Supply on steroids. This place is just breathtaking. However, there always has to be a however. You finally get all that you need. You fill your cart up. You make your way to the front of the store, and that's when it hits you. There's going to be a line. Jamie and I have gone in there, I would say probably 5 or 6 times since they've opened, and we have not been in there yet and not had to wait in a line. And I don't know, maybe I'm just with my lifestyle and as busy as everybody is right now. The fact that we've already driven a long ways to be there, got to drive home a long ways back. And you just feel like every minute that you wait in that line is just more and more aggravating. And I tell you what, I don't get it. But no, everyone's competing. Everyone's at each other, trying to figure out what's what. And Google and Facebook are no different. Google and Meta, I'm sorry, are no different. They compete. But a lot of the folks on YouTube have been here for a little bit, having nice conversations in the chat. Thank you so very much for being so kind. Facebook is coming in a little bit later, and that's fine. I'm blessed to have you both. I really am blessed to have you. Today, I'm going to start off conversation talking about Deanna says, take your dad on a trip to Atwoods. There's no way my dad, who already can't stand more than 5 or 10 minutes without having to sit down, is going to ever be able to go into Atwoods. I could take him if my dad would ride around in a wheelchair, or if he would let himself sit down in one of the little drive around buggies. But my dad's a prideful man. He would never do that. He doesn't want to take away from someone who really needs it, is what he's going to say. So no, my dad and mom, I'm so blessed. They do have plans to drive over this afternoon to the JL Ranch. Jamie and I are very excited to show it off and let them have a little tour. I'll take my dad right out of the, if they go in my mom's car, we'll take my dad out of mom's car. He can jump right over into my side-by-side, and I'll give him the grand tour. We plan on stopping and buying some chicken. My mom and dad both love fried chicken. So Jamie and I are not going to cook over there. We don't really have everything set up to cook. The RV is small. You don't really want to crowd a bunch of people inside of the RV while you cook. And we don't have a barbecue pit or anything over there yet. And it's still a little bit too hot to be cooking outdoors. So we will stop by and get some fried chicken, and we will have a nice little dinner. And I'll take Dad around and show him some of the property. Well, hello there, Facebook. Thank y'all for finally jumping in. I see that Facebook numbers are growing now. Everyone's saying hi to hello to Lester. Thank you so much for that. And no, we're very blessed to have Mom and Dad able to come up and visit. We've and you know what? And right now is a perfect time. I would like it to be a little bit cooler, to be more pleasant, but there's no flies, there's no mosquitoes, there's no outside pests. I've gotten most of those pastures all mowed. They look so beautiful, y'all. I can't wait to show you all how wonderful everything looks. Maybe a drone flight overhead to get that God's view of the JL Ranch property. Just a gorgeous property. And the Longhorns are absolutely living their very best life over there. Now, while I'm on this subject, let me talk just for a second about our wonderful little fella, little Gary. Let me get me a drink first. I can feel the tickles, like those little tickles in your throat. That happens sometimes when you're trying to present, and lo and behold, you get them darn tickles. You feel like you have to, oh no. So I'm so sorry when the commercials jump up on the platforms, guys. Don't forget that that's how Facebook and YouTube make their money, and that's also how we make a couple of dollars. So as annoying as those commercials and those ads may be, just know that it's kind of a part of life. You see those commercials when you watch TV, even when you watch a Netflix movie, you sometimes have to have a pause for a commercial break. But that's how money is made. That's how money gets earned in the movie industry, TV industry, and even when it comes to social media. So thank you so very much for being patient with those commercials. The good thing is you won't miss anything. Whenever a commercial break happens, it's going to put you back at the same spot where it left you. So you might be a little bit behind what I'm saying in real time, but you're still a part of the conversation. All righty. So this morning I was at the JL. I had gone to the feed store and gotten our bull feed buggy filled up. And so as I was getting back to the JL Ranch to take that into the pasture, Tex walked up, and boy, I could tell he was breathing fire. He did not really want to mess around with me this morning. He just wanted that feed buggy back where it belongs. And so he met me at the gate. He did. He met me at the gate, and I had to find a way to open the gate, back up the feed buggy into the pasture, and disattach it from the truck and try to get back out of the gate so as the bulls don't run out. And that's always a challenge. But we made it happen. We put a really cute video over on Facebook. And I will say that as neat and as fun as the video was, I was a little taken back at how many people had concerns or even curiosities over little Gary, because I think that there might be new folks to the page who don't really know the entire story of little Gary. So if you don't mind, even though many of you guys already know the entire story of little Gary and how he came about being a part of our herd there at the JL Ranch, let me go ahead and take a couple of minutes to fill in people who may not know, because it's obvious there's people who are newer to the channel. We're blessed to have a channel that does grow. It's still growing. And when you come in new to a channel, you may not have time to go back and figure out all what's going on with everything. So I will just start December of 2023. Me and a lot of you all were taking us a drive on a live video around the property. And everyone knows that we drive our fence lines daily. We do that to check, make sure there's no trees have fallen or branches or anything that has taken the fence down. You don't want your cows getting out onto the road or anything else, right? And so we were driving along the property there at the back side of the JL. Now, remember, the JL property is 50 acres. It's in a long rectangular shape. At the front of the property is the interstate, I-69. However, on the back side of the property is an old highway that's pretty much just kind of, it's not even blacktopped, I don't think. It's mostly dirt, clay. It's a beautiful road. I've driven down it a few times before, even took some of you guys with me. But behind that is a railroad track. Now, there's no other properties in that area, but behind those tracks on the far side is a large ranch, and they do raise shorthorns. So shorthorn cattle, or very similar to longhorns. They're acclimated to our climate and our temperatures, and they do very well eating brushy type stuff. They're not as artsy, like they're not pasture art the way longhorns are, but they're a really neat breed of cow. But somewhere along the way, this little bull, who we've named Gary or Little Gary, had somehow gotten off the property that he belonged to. We don't know for sure which one, and made his way onto those railroad tracks or that highway where he was hit. Yeah, he was run over. He was bumped. And what happened was, it was a broken leg and all kinds of tissue damage in his left rear hip area, his left side back hip area. I'm just making sure it's the left side. It is the left side. Okay, so you all know that on this particular day, as we're driving around, I spotted, it was a live video, I spotted little Gary there in the tree line right behind the property. Didn't know who it was. I knew he wasn't one of my cows, but I saw he was in bad shape. So what I did immediately was went up, got some water, got some feed, and I drove those things back down to him. I went ahead and opened the gate there on the backside of the property, and I fed and watered Gary right there where he stood, or he may have actually laid. And the sad thing about it, we found out from day one that there was something wrong with this little bull. Little Dinky Daryl, I'm trying to work. So what I'm looking at right here as I sit right here, I'm watching Dinky Daryl run the fence line, and all of the horses are running along with him. They're having the most fun ever. Anywho's, so little Gary was lying there in his own feces. He had not been able to move for a while. And so we did take him some food. We took him some water. There's videos of all of this. So if you ever want to go back till around the December time frame, you can see all of those videos. And I do think they were on YouTube. I'm sorry, Facebook, but I think that we did all that stuff on YouTube at the time. Gary did eat and he did drink. And we continued to do that for the next couple of days. At some point, I reached out and I called animal control. I reported this little bull. And what was sad about that is the operator at animal control, he already knew whose bull this belonged to. As a matter of fact, he told us all, we made that call, a conversation in public. He told us that he knows of this owner and that this is not the first animal he's had that's escaped. We told him about the injuries and about all that was going on with little Gary, and he would look into it. And that's kind of the typical response that you always get. So we didn't stop there. We went ahead and went back day after day after day, trying to at least feed and water little Gary. We saw he couldn't get around so well. And then I think it was probably day 3 that we said, you know what, we're not going to sit here and watch this little bull die, because at that point, friends, he was on, I think they call it death's doorstep. Does that make sense to y'all? Death's doorstep. He was in a really bad place. So I went ahead and I had to cut the fencing to create myself a little gate close to where little Gary was at. And I forced him to get up, and we moved him through the ditch. We got him out of that ditch and pushed him into our back property, where I closed back up and put me a small gate there. So just in case the owner wanted little Gary back, there was a way to come run him right back up that ditch. Well, we didn't hear from the owner. Animal control had reached out several times, and it was they were having a really hard time getting in contact with the owner of that little bull. So we did what we do best, I think, or what we at least try to do. We took little Gary, and once we gave him a couple of days on our pastures, we found out he was able to get up. He could not really walk very well because his leg was at that point just kind of dragging behind him. We knew it was a serious injury. And so we did go ahead and walk Gary up to our loading chute and our corral area, where we have a squeeze chute that will squeeze an animal into a chute where they can be observed and looked at, medicated, treated, and all of those things. Now, remember, we're doing all of this without permission. We're just hoping to save this little bull's life. And at that time, my thought was just, I'm not going to allow this little bull just to die. I'm not going to let him die. I didn't know the rules, the law. I don't know what's what, but I do know just the compassionate side of me said that we're not going to let this bull lay there and die. I want to remind you, because people over here are saying it in the comments, you're right. We noticed that when we were walking up with little Gary, that he was literally pooping pus. That there was pus, like an infection, an obvious inner infection was oozing out of his back end on every step that he took. And we knew then that there was some kind of an internal situation going on that was going to be very difficult for little Gary to ever overcome. You guys all know about septic and septic shock and all of the things that happen. And we thought that even with little Gary up around the house getting food and water, it wasn't going to be enough. He was going to probably pass. But we still did what we had to do. We took a leap of faith, contacted our vet. Dr. Cochran is the vet who we spoke to. She's one of our most trusted large animal vets. And she told me some things that I could try. She let me know of where I could find the things and what I need to do, the amount, and all of those things. Now, at that point, Dr. Cochran and her office were unable to come out. We could not find a vet to make a house call or a large animal visit like you would like to have. So we did everything over the phone with Dr. Cochran. I'm sorry, the phone is so wobbly. Let me take my hands off the table. And so Dr. Cochran gave me all the things of what to do, told me how to do it. And so then together, you and I, the folks who were with me back then, we began to go over there and daily medicate and work on that wonderful little fella, little Gary. And miraculously, little Gary began to improve. We did the things that Dr. Cochran advised. We gave the injections, we gave the shots, we gave all of the things. And over time, little Gary did begin to improve. Now, Dr. Cochran was eventually able to come out on her own time, even though her office would not allow her the office visit. She, on her own, came out one Saturday morning to do a welfare check on little Gary, and there was a lot of things that she noticed and talked about with us, which I share with you all. Now, I'm going to get a lot of these words wrong, but okay, so muscle atrophy, muscle atrophy, I think they called it. Muscle atrophy is one of the things that little Gary is going to forever have to deal with. Joint fusion. If that makes any sense to you all, joint fusion. And then also there were bones that had been broken in the impact of whatever hit him, either a train or a car, and those bones had fused themselves back improperly. They were in the process of fusing themselves back, and they were not going to be properly set. They were not set. Okay, so in saying so, this is where everything gets touchy with a lot of folks, because I don't think that people understand that it's very easy to take a dog or a cat, even a goat, into your vet and have them set, cast, and do all kinds of things to some animals that are able to be kind of immobilized, temporarily immobilized, until those things can kind of heal. If you think about it, oh, thank you for the people who are saying that I'm getting most everything right. I'm trying to remember I'm getting most everything right. Now, there will be guys, I am not that guy. I am not the guy to get everything right when it comes to medical terms. I'm not a very well-spoken man at all. And I forget most things that go into my noggin. I forget them by the next day. So those are some words that I do remember from our conversations. And I'm hoping that you know what all that stuff means, because I don't. So bottom line is, let me just go to the bottom line. Bottom line is, little Gary, being the size of bull, the type of animal, is not, you cannot take an animal of that size and of that demeanor into your vet's office. They would not be able to re-break. That's what you want me to do. It sounds like re-break those bones, set them back properly. It would require multiple surgeries for all of the damages with all the soft tissue. And then you don't put a bull into a cast. Guys, I'm so sorry if this hurts you, but you don't do some things. You can't do some things with some animals that you could do with others. So if you're a city dweller and you kind of know about city life and you've seen dogs and cats, and yes, now don't get me wrong, people have sent me $100,000 horses who have had broken legs, and they have their legs casted up and all of those things. But my friends, this is not that kind of a situation. And so what our goals were to get little Gary to live. We wanted little Gary to live. And I'm blessed that little Gary is alive. Okay. Now, I'm trying to remember exactly, but there were, what would have happened, and it was called the risk versus rewards, or the risk versus benefits, I believe. And the risk that would be involved in trying to do surgeries and all of these things with little Gary would not outweigh it was not going to be successful. It was too many risks involved in setbacks and infections, and it would have been multiple surgeries. And guys, I'm so sorry that this is not what you wanted to hear, but we were told this a long time ago, that this might be the best that little Gary will ever be able to experience, is living a life that will more than likely have a little bit of pain, maybe a lot of pain, but he is alive. Now, before you start screaming and hollering at me, I bet half of you all also live with pain. I know I do. I also live with pain. I'm happy to be alive. I'm happy to enjoy wonderful moments with my children and with my family and being able to see my kids grow up. However, it's not easy. I think that y'all would all admit living with pain is not easy. Guys, do y'all hear the crows? I hear crows and they're making the most god awful noise. I'm sorry I'm so distracted. But what we're doing with little Gary right now, we've learned that if we take little Gary away from the ladies, then he will not have the same temptations to try to get up in their mix. We also know that when there's no ladies with Tex and Waylon, they're not going to fight. Waylon and little Gary have become friends and they do hang out and chum around a lot. Now, whereas Waylon and Tex will sometimes bump heads and do all those things, no one, or at least Tex, does not pick on little Gary. Little Gary has learned just kind of stay out of his way. And so little Gary does the best that he can. Here's what I'll say about little Gary. He receives all of the food, the green grass, the clean, fresh water, shade, shelter. That's a cut. And anything else we can provide to him, we do those things to hopefully give him his best life possible. And it may not be the life that you would like to see him live. And I know it's difficult seeing him struggle. But my friends, Gary's going to forever struggle. He's going to forever be a bull with muscle, tissue, bone damages. And if you're the kind of person who's going to say, you should have let nature be nature and let Gary go on to the next life. Well, that's absolutely your opinion. And there were people who said that back in the day. I get it. But we watch Gary. He seems to be happy-ish. And I still think that with time, possibly this fall, we'll be able to move little Gary to a flat pasture, maybe there at the sanctuary, where he'll have his very own pond, clean, fresh water, his very own shelter. And we're going to probably try to take at least one little lady with him to give him a partner. He's never going to be able to do the things that other bulls can do. And we would even at some point, once he's well enough and healthy enough, even have the vet come out and maybe do a procedure to have him neutered or castrated so that he doesn't have to have even the thoughts of all of those kind of things. But and so as I'm reading the comments on both of the platforms, I understand there's a lot of folks who are very supportive and they know the situation. They also know the limitations. And then there's others who are absolutely undeterred in their way of thinking, and they're not going to give us any grace at all, despite the efforts that we've made. They're not understanding. And so that's just the way it is, my friends. There's just some things that you can do and some things that you cannot do with certain species of animals. So that is kind of what it is. And I'll say this again, on most farms and most ranches, if they have a situation with a little Gary type situation, that they would have more than likely just went ahead and put that animal down. And so that's not a knock on the farmer. It's not a knock on the rancher. It's just the fact that even going back to all the old movies at the Old West, and you saw that when a horse broke the leg, the cowboy had to get off and put that animal down, because you all know that it's never going to be repairable. It's not something that you can do with some animals. So we do not have those kind of facilities. If you run a facility and you want to come pick up Gary and you want to do all of those things, then by all means, my friends, you come on over and you get little Gary and you do all of those things. I'm not keeping little Gary for any other reason than just trying to give him a life. Eventually, the owner We did get the phone number to the owner. The animal control exchanged our numbers. We've never met the guy, but he did offer to go ahead and just sell us little Gary so that we could do all of the medical things that we wanted to do, knowing that he was our bull. You could not do those things without the owner's permission. And so we did go ahead and just buy the little fella. We just bought little Gary because the guy did not want him back anyway. And so we did use our money and we bought little Gary just to try to give him the medical attention that he needed. And so as of right now, when you see a video that includes little Gary and he may be hobbling around, and he's going to forever hobble around the same way many of you hobble around and the same way that I hobble around, we still try to find the finer things in life and live for those moments. And so I will at some point try to improve Gary's life even more. And so my plan is whenever I do move the big bulls, the service bulls, back to the female pastures, I will take that opportunity to also move little Gary to my loading chute. And I'm going to try to run Trinity, which is the little mixed breed Longhorn / something cow, in with him. And then I will load them both and I'll transport them over to the sanctuary, where they will still continue to live a life similar to what they live right now, except they will have each other. They'll only have each other, and they'll have a pond. They'll have about a 5-acre pasture with wonderful green grass. They'll have hay in the wintertime. They'll have shelter. They will have Ellie and Megan walking out and giving them feed every afternoon. They will also keep the waters nice and clean. And so that is going to be what I hope to be in Gary's future. So I don't mean to spend half of my life talking about little Gary, but I will say that there were so many questions this morning on that morning video on Facebook about little Gary that I thought it was maybe timely and something that people may be new to the page and may not know. And so that's a blessing to have you here. But that's kind of the behind the scenes with what's been going on with little Gary. So I really can't read all of the comments right now. I'm sure there's questions. I'm hoping that other people who are in the know, there's a lot of ladies and men here that have been around for a while who can answer your questions if you ask them. And I will get around to watching the live myself a little bit later, and I'll try to go by and answer any questions that I possibly can. All righty. So I've already did it this morning on a few comments, but thank you for loving little Gary. Thank you for being understanding of his situation. And then thank you for also realizing that with some animals, there's some things that are not feasible. They're not going to be able to do. But he is alive and he is well. There's no longer an infection, but he's going to have a lingering issue with some chronic pain and whatnot in his back left leg. Okay, well, I think that's pretty much answers all of Gary's questions. Thank you for the kind compliments about the fact that we did what we could do, because we did do all that we could do. Thank you. Marcy says, Lester, when is your procedure? October the 3rd, Marcy. It is scheduled for October the 3rd. I had to wait long enough to get through my son's football season. You don't forget that Lex is starting football, and that means he has practice and games throughout the week. And I did not want to be available to him if he needs me. And according to most folks, this procedure that I have to have done is not that big of a deal. If you mean the colonoscopy, that's what I'm talking about. A lot of sit time there the day before, from what I understand. And then the day of, it's not that big of a deal as long as they can knock me out long enough to get the procedure taken care of. So let's not equate what I have to do to what little Gary has to do, because I promise you, little Gary has a whole lot bigger issues than what I have. Thank you. So we're not really answering questions right now. I will go ahead and address this because it's been asked of me by Stephen. But what did I think of the vice president's speech last night? I was happy with the first half. pleased to hear a little bit of an autobiography. I was disappointed with the second half when there were 15 remarks about Donald Trump, and there were zero, not once was inflation talked about. And so, like I said yesterday, I am open. I am not a Republican. I am not a Democrat. All I am is an American who loves our soldiers. I love and respect our soldiers, our police officers. I support a secure border that knows who's entering the country and that those folks are vetted and that they're here for the right reasons. And I also support the elderly and that they need to get the help that they deserve. The veterans and elderly need the help that they deserve, and those that are disabled absolutely need help. And so what I was hoping to hear was all about that. A lot of people are saying that you really can't hear those kind of things from the vice president because she's already been in power for 3.5 years and none of those things have happened. So how can you say what you're going to do when in the fact you're in power right now and not doing it? So I don't know. I'm not political. I'm also watching the other campaign, trying to find out the details. And like I said yesterday, I'm only interested in which of the candidates can do those 4 things that I'm asking them to do. And so what I will do is think long and hard. I'll do a lot of soul searching. I'll do a lot of, you could say, do your own research, but I don't know if there's much to research because promises is all we're hearing right now in this part of the process with the elections is promises. But you have to ask yourself who will back up those promises, who will do what they promise. So I'm not trying to preach. Someone says, preach it, Lester. I'm not trying to preach. I'm disappointed with both candidates. And then I will say one last thing to the people who are screaming, don't talk politics. I don't talk politics. I'm not a political person. I said before that I voted for both Democrats and Republicans. I voted for the Obama president as president. I voted for Bush. I don't really guess I care that you know that. What I'm trying to say is I look at the individual. I was very upset with the Bush for the war with Iraq when there was no weapons found. That bothered me. To this day, it bothers me, knowing how many Iraqi citizens, how many American troops and all of those things lost their lives in a war that should have never happened. Probably should have never happened, but I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know the ins and outs. And so I don't know, but I do think that our country right now is struggling greatly with the economy. And I do think that somebody better fix it. Somebody better fix it. And if they don't fix it, then shame on them for making promises and even being in power to do things and not doing it. So I will vote on November 5th based on who I think truly is in the best position to answer what I feel like or needs. And I would advise you all to do the same thing. I don't care if you vote Democrat or Republican or independent. We just all need to hope and pray that our country can get better than we are right now because we are not in a good place. Well, listen, I had a couple of things to talk about. Now I've kind of been distracted. I'm looking over here at my timer, seeing that we've been going for 38 minutes, and I really haven't addressed anything besides talked about little Gary. And I didn't think that little Gary needed that much talk time, but I am happy to answer those questions for those who are curious. What else is going on? Mom and Dad are coming to the JL Ranch this afternoon. They're going to leave around 5 o'clock as soon as Dusty picks up the kiddos. Mom and Dad will drive up. Jamie and I are going to swing by the chicken place and get chicken, which is my mom and Dad's favorite meal. We will serve them chicken, and then I'll take Dad for a drive around the property, show him how beautiful everything is. I want my dad and mom to see the property. And then I'll go ahead and talk about something else that might be a little bit hard to talk about, but I know that my mom and dad have had a dream and a desire to see all of us children continue in what was started by the Morrow family many, many, many generations ago. In the fact that, you have this wonderful piece of property that was fought and earned during the American Civil War. Don't forget that the South could not afford to pay their soldiers in money. So what they did was they paid their soldiers in land grants. And so we did have a great-great-grandfather who fought in that war. Being here in Texas, he fought for the South. And when the war was over, he was given a 500-acre land grant. And that land has been in the family ever since. Now, here we are several generations later, and that land has been passed down from father to son, father to son. And so the entire 500 acres is no longer intact. There has been some that was sold for this or that. Some was lost a piece here and there in a divorce. And different things have caused different family members, cousins and second cousins to all up and do their own thing and move away. And what we have left, my dad and my Uncle Raleigh both have a little over 60 acres each left. And so I know that my Uncle Raleigh had a dream and a vision to have his property passed on along to his children. Uncle Raleigh never had an official will. And so once my Uncle Raleigh passed away, his desires to have his land passed on to his children never happened. And so I don't want to get too personal because this is a family issue, but there's been a probate courts have been involved, and nothing went according to Uncle Raleigh's plans whenever he told everybody and talked to everybody and promised his children what would happen upon his death. So as of right now, none of the kids have the property. It all belongs to my Aunt Joanne, who is Uncle Raleigh's second wife. She's not the mom to any of his children. And so as of right now, she is I think they call it the conservator of all of the property, the home, everything. And Aunt Joanne will at some point decide what she wants to have done with the property. And as of right now, she has put everything up for sale. So the entire Morrow land on my Uncle Raleigh's side has been put up for sale. I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know if the kids know if they're going to receive anything from the sale of that property, but that means that eventually we will lose our hay crop. My Uncle Raleigh did allow us to bale his pastures for the last several years. We've gotten really wonderful grass off those pastures, but we also know that our time of baling his fields are coming to an end, because once that property sells, who knows what will happen, but it will not be able to be baled by us anymore. As far as mom and dad go with their property, my dad still has visions to pass the land on to his children, Kim, me and Dan, and even Tina. However, Tina doesn't care to live there, so Tina would like some of her land to be given to her oldest son, Dusty. And so I think that my dad has plans to have that happen. As of right now, my dad has not done any of that. I think that those are his plans, and at some point that may or may not happen. I, on my own, went and bought 11 acres from Aunt Joanne to guarantee myself a place to run cows if I need to have more pasture space if I need to. And so the sanctuary there where Ellie and Megan are living is about 25 total acres. That includes the land that I hope my dad will one day deed off to us, along with the acres that I bought, will be about 25 acres. And the reason I bring this up is I know that my mom and dad had a vision. They wanted us to all live there, very similar to the way it has been done for generations. But the difference now compared to then is that Plum Grove has changed a lot. And I don't know if anyone can get the full scope of what has happened in Plum Grove. But my friends, if you don't know this, right behind Chicago, Plum Grove, Texas, little old Plum Grove capital, Plum Grove, Texas, with what used to be a census of 600 people, has now turned into over 70,000 people, most of which are immigrants, many of which are probably illegal immigrants. And those are only the ones who have actually registered as far as with the Census Bureau. We assume, and everyone speculates, that there could be hundreds of thousands of people living in that small development, and absolutely run by the cartels. We already know that. And then here's what I was getting to. Plum Grove, Texas is right behind Chicago as the crime capital of the country. Sorry to tell you all that, but you do not want to, if you have an option, if you have a choice, you do not want your kids having to go drive through those neighborhoods, shop in those neighborhoods, pass through those neighborhoods, if at all possible. We already know about the number of dogs that run loose on those streets. We know about the horse situation that Jake saw recently. And guys, that is just one of hundreds, maybe even thousands of neglected or abused animals that you can see driving down any road on any given day. Law is very scarce. As a matter of fact, law enforcement does not want to go into Plum Grove. They try to avoid that. Now, they'll tell you that they have a rotation of officers that run through there. But I kid you not, you would be far and in between to ever see law enforcement step into the Plum Grove city limits. Unfortunately, the infrastructure of Plum Grove, it was a little 2-lane road like this, 1 lane going each way, one road that went in and went out of Plum Grove. And those are the exact same roads that we drove our entire life when there was only 600 of us. Now there are 70,000 plus driving those roads. And so it has been an implosion of all kinds of different businesses and things that have popped up. There have been a number of crime rings that have been raided, including human trafficking, drugs, gang violence. And so Plum Grove today is not a place that I want my kids to live. My mom and dad understand exactly our fears, but mom and dad are of the age where they're never going to leave. That's all my dad has ever known, and he will never leave. My dad was born there, and my dad will die there. And I understand that, and I'm not upset about that. That's what my dad chooses for himself. However, there are certain family members who have decided to go ahead and, when the time is right, to go ahead and make that move. Tina and Rob were the first to break the cycle. They did sell their home, and they did up and move off of the property. Jamie and Lester, me and Jamie, were the second to up, and we didn't sell anything, but we did just save our resources, and we did up, and we moved out of Plum Grove. Jake and Lissa will be the next to do that. Now, of course, their reasonings is mostly with flooding, and that's something else we didn't talk about because of all the new development there in Plum Grove. With all the new development there in Plum Grove, we have had a influx of flooding issues. They built up and took over land that used to be a natural flood. I forgot what they call that. And now all that water, when it rains, pushes right over onto our side of the road, which floods. If you say you should fight it, Lester, you should fight it. We tried that, and all we discovered is that Liberty County, which is made up of mostly Republicans, were no help at all. As a matter of fact, money, y'all, it's the money trail that speaks a whole lot more than what a voice of a couple of citizens do. And so we tried our attempt to fight it, and we realized real fast there was nothing going to happen. Nothing was going to happen. Instead, we were going to find ourselves possibly on the wrong side of the cartel. And that's something that you just don't want to do. We did not want to take that fight any further because the threats were coming. And so we've decided to go ahead and just up and go. I have encouraged Ellie and Megan, and I says, if you guys, I told them I will never hold it against you if you both decide to up and move yourself. I says, I will not hold it against you. So, anywho's. So as of now, I have retold the Gary story for all of those new members. Thank you for being patient for that. I've talked a little bit about mom and dad coming to the JL and the fact that I know that it's hard on my dad to go see some of his family members. I'm his eldest son, and I'm choosing to live somewhere else. I think that my dad is proud of me, but I also know that he's disappointed that we chose not to continue on. But I will say this, and I feel this way, and I'm telling you, and I've told my dad the same thing. I feel like it would be foolish of me to leave my family there, to raise my family there, to raise animals there when there is an ongoing threat of flooding every time it rains and the crime is out of control. Friends, if you want to argue with me about the crime rate, then you're more than welcome to go to the internet and do your own research. There's people are going to argue about everything. And so by all means, jump onto Google or whatever you use for your search engine, type in Plum Grove, type in crime, type in cartel, type in Colony Ridge, type in whatever you want to type in, and you can read all of the reports yourself. People will argue with you about everything. And I see there's one lady who's very upset that I called her city of Chicago the crime capital. Sorry, ma'am, but I may know more about your city than what you do. You probably live in the nice side of Chicago, not the side that you won't go into at night. I've never been to Chicago. I have no idea. All I know about Chicago is what I see on the news. And so you can call it fake news if you want to, but living in Plum Grove, the nightlife around Plum Grove sounds eerily similar to the nightlife around certain sides of the Chicago suburbs, with lots of gunfire, screeching tires, and lots of police activity. And so if that hurts your feelings, then I'm so sorry. I'm sure that a lot of Chicago is beautiful. I've never been there, but I'm sure that your part of town is wonderful. But I think that we all know that you might be a little bit blinded by what goes on the other side of town if you're going to defend Chicago like that. Well, guys, I've rambled on for so darn long, and I don't know if I've ever talked about anything. You know what's hard about that is this. You have a live video one day where it's lively and it's fun and it's joyful and it's humorous, and you leave with a happy, happy feeling. And you want every single live to be that same way. But sometimes conversation dictates otherwise. And so you can't not talk about what people want to talk about. And we'd be foolish to try to turn our channel into one of those feel-good channels. We're not like the mega church, y'all. We're not a mega church here where everyone will come in and give us your money and leave feeling like so fulfilled. We're not a mega church here. We are the good, the bad, and the ugly. We don't want any of your money. You keep your money for yourself. All we want to do is share with you what we do and what we see and what we experience from a first person point of view. So lots of people are telling me different parts of the country that also have high crime rates. Absolutely. I think the scariest thing about the crime in Plum Grove is that law enforcement can't solve any crimes. I don't know this for a fact, and I do not know the numbers, but I bet you when there's a crime in most cities, you have enough people to come forward. You have enough cameras that catch things. You have a strong enough police force and city council who want to help solve those problems. And I bet you that many times, I would say most times, arrests are probably made. However, in Plum Grove, you can't make those arrests because you don't know who's who. People live by aliases. People drive around with paper license plates, which are not real. They're license plates that are bought off Amazon, and you can put any number you want to. So no one knows who's who. You cannot find an address. When the police do pull someone over and they have no identification, police do not take them to jail. They don't. They let them go. They let them go. And so when people live that way, then there's not really a consequence to the crime. So If everyone moves off Morrow Hill, what will happen to the cemetery? The cemetery will forever be protected because it's a cemetery. As of right now, there are two sets of grandparents buried there. There's one newborn baby, and there's one wonderful dog named Maggie. And they are all buried there in our cemetery plot. It's a Morrow family cemetery. So no matter what, the cemetery will always be there. And as of now, I still take care of the cemetery. I go by and I mow it, I weed eat it, I keep it clean. Me and Aunt Joanne kind of pitch in to help out each other. I do all of the fencing, I do all of the maintenance, the heavy lifting. Joanne will run her lawnmower over and help me mow it on occasion. But I guess that I will for always and forever take care of the cemetery, and I'm happy to do that. Absolutely. So that will forever stay there. You will not, they will not sell, you cannot sell the cemetery. What happened to that little brown calf that PWJ was trying to court? We'll just say court. And so I don't know. This morning I did not see her, so she must have a way of going back and forth. The good thing is she comes over to my pastures. My cows do not go into hers. So whenever they say the grass is greener, well, in this case, the grass on our side is much greener. The water's prettier and cleaner and fresher. And so that little calf wants to come over and hang out with Prince Willie Joe. That's fine. I don't mind that. And so, yes, I will go ahead and go with what Gene says over here. Gene is correct. The reason that people get their mind fixated on certain political issues is because you see things with your own eyes. Guys, if you see things with your own eyes, then it becomes relevant to you. So here's an example. If you are financially doing well, you don't notice gas prices. If you're financially doing very well, you don't notice the cost of gas, groceries. You don't notice the price of things that keep going up and up and up. You don't notice because you make plenty of money. If you are not living on a fixed income, if you are a veteran, if you are a first responder or a guy in blue, a police officer, you see immediately the lack of support, the lack of funding, the lack of resources that should be allocated to you. They're not. They're sent overseas. And so I'm not saying, I don't have to say a darn word. You can talk so much about common sense without ever saying a word or pitching a party or denouncing a party. But if you don't experience life, then you don't really know about life. And so this message goes out to everyone who's experienced life. And so it's funny to me to hear all these people that will only vote for a man or only vote for a woman or only vote for black or only vote for white. How silly, because you should only vote for what's going to make this country stronger and better. And in saying so, you have to make that decision based on what you see as a need. And so I don't know your needs. I don't know your needs. I know my needs. I know what I see with my own eyes. I see the busloads of folks being dropped off at the street corner. I see the crime. I read about it daily. I follow Plum Grove. Yeah, I agree with Mel. Now, Mel is sitting here pitching a Biden. Mel, your logo is outdated. It says Biden Harris. You need to change that logo. But Mel says, bottom line is just vote, people. I agree with you, Mel. Just vote. Because if you don't vote, you're wasting your voice. And you may not think that your voice means much, but I promise you, you will feel a lot better, win or lose, if you at least make a plan to go out and vote. And when you go out and vote, like I said yesterday, you vote for what your conscience tells you is going to make this country stronger and better. Someone says local politics are actually more important to me than national politics. Isn't that the truth, though? Really, let's think about it for a minute. National politics can control a lot of things, mostly taxes, gosh darn it. If they would just spend our tax money wisely, then I would probably not harp on a whole lot of national politics, but I hate to see tax money being spent on other countries more than anything else. Granted, we are humans and we empathize with other countries who are not doing well, who have financial needs and financial struggles. But at the same time, we have people here who are financially desolate and in a really bad place, who are going without, or who are having to find ways to ration their meals, who are going without medical care, and who don't have the resources they need to get from one day to the next. And that bothers me more than anything else, to see good, hardworking, or those who have worked and paid in a lifetime to Social Security not to get what they deserve. And that goes for every last one of us, because we all pay taxes. So Lizette says, have you spoken to your local rep? Stephanie, that's my niece-in-law. Stephanie did. Stephanie went on her own attempt to, Stephanie is very smart, very well spoken, and she did talk to a number of local reps. I can't name everybody offhand, but she made the rounds, and she met and met and met. And I'm sorry, friends, but they all give you empty promises. Empty promises. So, guys, I really want to apologize. I don't feel like we talked about, what, I'm not going to leave you alone. I'm going to read a letter. It says, read me. Read me. So I will absolutely open this letter and read it. Let's hope we can end this on a really good, positive note. I love Stephanie too. All right, read me. Oh, I hope I can. I do have some glasses if I need them. I may or may not need them. Hello, Lester. You can read this on a video. There at the very top, it says it. Now, this handwriting is small, and it's also in cursive. Okay, here we go. Y'all ready? Hello, Lester. I watched your live today, and my heart swelled, and the tears started again. You have made me cry so many times, I couldn't even begin to count. Well, that's horrible. I hope you're not a lady. I hope you're a man. Nope, it's Beth. Listen to me. I've always told my sons this, and I've told this to my students. When you make a woman cry, a lady cry, boy, you better watch out, because God counts those tears. He does. God will count them tears, and he's going to hold you accountable to each and every one of them. So, Miss Beth, if I do nothing but make you cry, ma'am, you're going to send me to a really horrible place, because God's going to hold me accountable to you. I'm so sorry, Miss Beth. I don't know what you're crying about. Let me find out. Dinky girl, just hush it up. They're going to hold you accountable too, Daryl. Now, I have to admit that you've made me laugh even more. Whew. Let's hope that God will kind of balance those out a little bit. And so in saying so, I might still find myself in a good place. I just wanted to tell you that I haven't even once thought or felt that you were bragging or boasting about what you have been blessed with. Man, I hope not, y'all. That's the last thing I ever want to do, is become one of those boastful and braggart types of guys. Now, I will say, and I don't mean to keep stopping and starting and stopping and starting, but you have to admit it's such a blessing that we are able to live the lifestyle that we live now, and how crazy that all of this started from a horrific flood that came with Hurricane Harvey. Because before Hurricane Harvey, Jake was working a dead-end job trying to sell used mobile homes. Now, Jamie was already doing what she's doing now. Lester was working as a teacher and a coach, driving a school bus. Ellie was in school. I'm just trying to name people. Mom and Dad, I don't know if my mom was still working then or not. I don't think my dad was, but all of my family members were working. Trying to make ends meet. The Morrow family has never been a wealthy family. We've never been a wealthy family, never. But Hurricane Harvey, and the fact that we were able to capture a video that made its rounds worldwide viral video really opened the door to a lot of us. And so even though we're able to live a lot neater and wonderful lifestyle now, it hasn't always been that way. So if you ever feel like we're boastful and braggart, don't think that that's on purpose, because I know I've been there. Debbie, stop talking about Uriel. Debbie Collins, stop talking about Uriel. Let it go. Anyway, let's go on with the letter. Actually, more like what you and Jamie have worked your asses off for. You had nothing after Harvey, and most people would have just given up, but not you. So I'll tell you right now, I did not give up because I had nothing else to do. I had nothing to give up for. I was with nothing. And when you find yourself with nothing, you can't give up, or you'll have nothing then some. And nothing plus nothing more. And so I never gave up. I wasn't able to give up. And there were a lot of people who did give up. They sold their home, what was left of it. They sold their property, and they decided to make a living for themselves somewhere else. You've put in so much hard work, so don't let these people shame you. No, I don't think people try to shame. I don't think they understand sometimes the struggles that we've all been through, and they sometimes can't appreciate how you choose to spend your blessing now. That's the biggest thing right there. People don't understand sometimes. They may see a gifting goodie video and they like, look at you showing off. Or they see a video of something that we're doing and look at you for showing off. It's not showing off. It's just trying to find ways to give the animals a better life. And there's a lot of guilt of the animals I could not save. Carol, you're being an ass. So Carol Vander Missen is being a complete ass. And I will block her. And if she wants to, she's more than welcome to find herself a fake account and start again. So, Carol, you are an ass. I said it to you. You're an ass. Most people would have given up, but not you guys. You've put in the hard work, so don't let people shame you, because the work is paying off. You make me proud, and I can't imagine life without you in it. I found you about 4 years ago, and I haven't missed a day. I can honestly say that you have made my life better. Thank you, ma'am. I have cried a lot, but I also have laughed my ass off. Boy, she uses the A word a lot, doesn't she? And now she's made me use the A word too. Both you and Jamie and all the Morrows are the most hardworking, honest, real people on this planet. And in today's crazy and disrespectful, rude, lying haters that are everywhere on social media, you, I feel, are a giant shining spot. Ma'am, that's very kind of you. And I know that we have our bad days. We do have our bad days, y'all. Don't ever apologize to anyone for a damn thing. This woman has a sailor's mouth. She talks like a sailor. I like her. This world would be such a better place if everyone could be a little more like Longhorn Lester. Thank you so much for being you. A loyal Lester lover, Beth. Miss Beth, you, ma'am, are so kind. She's from California. Is that, I think it says Placerville, California. I ended up tearing the envelope right there where her address goes, but it must be nearby Sacramento because that's where the post office popped it at. And so, guys, I'm going to say this, and this is not a boastful and braggart, but I want to say this, and then I promise you I'll start winding down. And you're more than welcome to disagree, even though me and that lady disagreed. She was just trying to find a way to fight. And we're not going to allow someone to start drama if we can help it. You're welcome to your opinion, but it sounds like you're being bitter. After Hurricane Harvey, which was in 2017, Lester has not skipped a day on making a video. And my videos are not short. You know that my videos are between 10 and 15 minutes long on average, sometimes a bit longer. Placerville, California, says Sharon. Thank you. So, in saying so, Lester works for a living. Not only do I make videos that earn me money, video making is my job. It's a craft. Not just anyone can make videos and make money from them. The same way, not every actor makes it in Hollywood. Not every musician makes it onto Broadway. And not every video creator makes it into the millions of followers. So I work and I work and I work. And I'm not putting down other creators, but anyone that really does watch my videos know how much time, effort, and creativity I put into my videos. So I do not apologize for making money from my hard work. Now, on top of that, what I do and what I use for content is real farming jobs. I sweat as much, if not more, than any internet farmer, maybe even real farmer. Yes, do I take a few hours off in the midday during the summer months? Absolutely. If not, I would kill myself in this heat. Okay. So, and well, someone else says you make 2 videos a day. So, as a matter of fact, I do. Now that I started the second channel, my second channel is Longhorn Lester's, and now I do. I make 2 videos every day. I don't take the weekends off. You get 2 videos every day. It's like clockwork. You know exactly what time to wake up. And when you do wake up, what you're going to find waiting for you, if you choose to, is a Longhorn Lester or an I'm a Survivor Sanctuary video. Now, next, what I do with my money, I have bought tractors for every family member who needs one. I will say that again. I spend my money in a generous way, and with my money that I've earned, not money that you've given me, not money that I've begged for. I don't put out all these things asking you for donations and whatnot. We have an occasional fundraiser like every sanctuary does, and you all know where that money goes. We have a board of trustees that watches every single dollar, and there has never been a red flag from us. We are not the Bakers. We're not Jim and Tammy Faye. We're not living a lavish lifestyle. We invest our money back into our animals, which is more than most farms, internet farms, can say. We do our own work. We will hire out if we can't do a job. We'll also hire out if we have a kid like little Chris or someone who's in a situation who needs a couple of dollars. Absolutely. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Proof is in the pudding. I'm on a rant now. Let me keep going. No, so you know what? There is such a thing as you work hard and you play hard, but think about our play. What is our play? What do we do for play? If I'm lucky, I go to Golden Corral and I have myself a buffet. If I'm lucky, maybe once a week. If I'm lucky. I shop just like you shop. I go to the Walmart and get my pickup order the same way you all do. So shame on you for scolding me for making money. Shame on you, because that money has benefited a whole lot of people. There's a fire department down the road that has new trucks and new hoses and all kinds of amazing things for their volunteer fire department because of you all. You all. There's people who are sick, people who are hurting, people who live with pain, who find a temporary escape every single day through a video that can take them away, maybe just here, from some of the hurt. There are people who have lost close people in their lives. They've lost children. There's been children who've lost parents. There have been women who've lost their husbands and vice versa. And they have found the first time to laugh over some kind of ridiculous antic that we do in a video. So there are moments that we cry. There are moments that we laugh. And I don't apologize for any of that. I'm blessed. Like I say, I'm blessed. I'm never say that, look at me popping my collar. Look what I've done. Shame on you for trying to act like that's who I am. I'm done. If it makes you feel any better, lady, now she may have already gone off and created a new page, or she may be gone forever. If it makes you feel any better, social media is temporary. The same way your favorite sitcom, your favorite Netflix show will one day end, this channel will also one day end. It will not be for me unless I die or something, but it will one day run its course. We are all watching right now the demise of the long video creators. So, like I've promised so many times before, for as long as Facebook and for as long as YouTube lets me have a voice and a platform, I will continue doing what I do. I will make my videos, and some will be funny, some will be sad, some will be just a daily chore that has to be done. I will sweat, I will laugh, I will cry right along with you. I will be a place for those who are struggling to have an escape. I will also be a place that those who have a question can come and have those questions answered. If it's a farm task that you're not real sure about, if it's something that I've discovered that can help you with your jobs, then by all means, come on. We welcome you. Can I just stop this already now? Can I just go ahead and stop already? So yes, there are 2,000 videos on Longhorn Lester channel, and there's probably close to 3,000 or 4,000 videos on I'm a Survivor Sanctuary. So I work my tail off, ma'am. I work my tail off, and here's the difference between you and me. I already forgot your name, but if you go off and work your tail off and you make your life better, I will applaud you. If you can go off and find a way to work your tail off and put up with the criticism and the negativity and all of the things, and you still find a way to be successful and help your family and help your community, then I will applaud you. Shame on you for coming onto my page, and trying to scold me. I do not feed oatmeal to the pigs unless it is a treat. Our pigs get treats on occasion. The problem with oatmeal to the pigs is that our pigs eat alongside our goats, and our goats will always push the pigs off of their food. So if I ever want to feed oatmeal to the pigs, I have to do it in a very sneaky way. I have to sneak my way around it. I'm so sorry that I feel like what was already kind of a downer of a live has gone back to the downer of a live. I don't want to end it this way, but I don't know what else I can do to liven the spirits. So all I'm going to do is say, listen, I am so darn blessed to have you. I don't deserve you. You all deserve so much better than me. And I mean that. But I will continue. Christy says, just dance, Lester, just dance. Yeah, I haven't been drinking, Miss Christy. Now, if I'd been drinking, girl, you better watch yourself. I am wearing my Crocs and Socks shirt. I am. Oh, boy. Boy, oh, boy. Hey, thank you all for watching. We love you so very much. We're blessed to have you. And we will... once again, the broken record in me just says thank you for giving us the greatest gift that you could ever give us, and that is your time. I understand how valuable your time is, and we love you for it. And thank you so very much, friends. So with that being said, we will catch you guys on the next video. And I promise you, the one that's coming up today at 4 on YouTube, that will come out a little bit later on Facebook, Little Chris gets his first gifting goodie, and that's fun to watch. Little Chris has girl drama, so it's a video that has a lot of animals. It's me calling up the littles. It's animals coming a running. It's Carl with happy hands. Carl is so happy and free and living his best life. A lot of the babies, a lot of the riffraff, the feeding up. And that's going to play today on the I'm a Survivor YouTube at 4 o'clock. And so I hope that you'll all give little Chris your support. So we are blessed. And I'll say one last thing about the blessing of finding our way into social media is that now it's not just Lester who's able to do what he loves to do, which is taking care of animals and trying to give them their best life. But now there are so many family members who are also able to do the exact same thing, to have welcome you all into their lives as well. And you don't know how much it means to have people support you and love you and pat you on the back. We still have our bad days. You all know that I suffer with depression and anxiety, and you have no idea how supportive it is to be able to go to a video when I'm feeling blue, and within a few minutes, those feelings are being replaced by happy, loving thoughts and pats on the back from you all. So we appreciate you being able to hashtag be a Vanessa, looking past a lot of things and trying to find ways to stay positive in a world that is going to hell, y'all. In a world that is going to a really bad place. Thank you for being a light and for sharing and shining your light and for spreading your joy. Okay? I love you and I'm blessed to have you. And I'm going to go ahead and end it right over there. Thank y'all. I will stop the Facebook. And now I'll say goodbye to my YouTube family. Thank you, YouTube.